I've been accused of being a weeds-oriented person, so when I first got involved in this, and I'll also tell you, I'm a field person. I came to this out of the field thinking that this could cure a lot of the problems and pain points that we see out there. So I do come from this as that weeds-oriented type of approach. I had the opportunity when I was working with DOI, with the Enterprise Geographic Information Management team, to get involved with the geospatial lines of business from the previous administration. And I'll have to tell you, I'm really happy to hear that we're talking about portfolio management in association with our geospatial data sets. It's coming from the field. I know we've got a lot of problems and a lot of issues. And what I'm seeing here is I'm seeing that we can actually start to make a difference. We can get our voices in there and get involved. This effort and the effort that's been going on associated with the GeoLabs and the life cycle management work group and the various other work groups that were out there. In fact, I didn't start with life cycle work group. I actually started on the grants and contracting, and I saw a lot of capabilities there. I migrated over into the life cycle management work group because of the leadership and the capabilities associated with that group. That group had 16 different agencies associated with it. We had up to 80 people over the last 3 years working on these efforts and pulling these together. Tom Chatfield with the Department of Interior Bureau of Land Management did a wonderful job leading the life cycle data management team. There were also other leaders in there that were helping us out in defining these things. We put together the A16 supplemental guidance that I'll go into in a little bit more detail. But as I can tell you now, I can't get into all of the weeds with you, but I'm more than happy to sit down and talk with you about this, and I could probably talk your ears off on this. So if you want to come and talk to me, please do. But some of the things that I'm seeing in association with this is that resources and allocating those, managing these things so that we can actually get those out in the field. Granted, we have to prioritize and we have to select things. We know that we don't have money to do everything that's out there. And as I was approaching a lot of the data managers that I was working with to actually work with them to get through some of these assessments, they were asking me the same questions. What is this going to do for me, and what is it going to do to me? Because there's a lot of concerns out there in the field associated with that. Last week I attended the Highfeld meeting, and I heard all the same pain points that I've heard at other meetings as well. And I really want to say a lot of you guys showed up, so yay, congratulations. Who was at the Highfeld meeting last week? Raise your hands. Very good, we have a couple of you there. But we did see a lot of things going in associated with that, and some of the things I do want to point out is that yes, when I'm working in the field and I get calls coming down from upper level management, we need to cease and desist the work we're doing in the field to respond to those, and that tends to put a grip into us getting our jobs done. So I see a lot of value in this coming through and helping us all work together. So what we did is we put together an A16 supplemental guidance. This is available out on the internet. And one of the things I wanted to point out is that we're actually going through and actually clarifying the roles and responsibilities. What is a steward responsible for? What do they need to deliver? Who has the various types of levels of access associated to these roles and responsibilities? What do they do, when, and where? So we did a little bit better job at defining that in association with building up the A16 that's out there right now. We also sat down and went, we all speak in acronyms, and trust me, I am over with fire now, and they have a whole new world of acronyms. So yes, I speak acronyms in multiple languages now. But having that common lexicon out there so we know what one another is talking about, that's going to really help us move ahead a little bit better on this. And that should be a living document as well so that we can continue to change that over time. We also sat down, one of the big groups that I worked on and took over after a while was that working on the data lifecycle management processes and how do we actually pull those together. I have to put out to, hey, Karen, thanks a lot, because Karen Hansen on the watershed boundary data set, the folks over on NHD, and a lot of other folks working on National Seamless data sets helped us really go through this and fine-tune that data set. And I'm going to talk about that probably the most to show you the template and the level of weeds that I'm into, but the template that we're designing to help us with this portfolio management. We also went through and we defined those geospatial data themes, and we're trying to actually do theme compositing. We're looking at the data sets as the essence associated with how we roll this information up and make it available as themes, and then we can actually bring it up into a portfolio. And so when somebody comes in and says, well, how are you doing with theme hydrology? We have a dashboard that we can show them. It gives us some measurement metrics. Where are we doing not so well? Where are we doing really well? Who's got what kind of capabilities, and how can we share that so that the rest of the folks struggling can do so. What are the financial resources, and what are you doing for inventive financial resources or partnerships? So one of the things that we're actually looking for is managing, getting those business-driven type elements out there. We want to make sure we harmonize at all the different levels. I know harmonize probably all heard, but harmonizing is a really good way for us to actually pull those together, and I'm probably happy to announce that we're looking at national, in fact, a North American watershed boundary data set, an NHD data set. How cool is that? It's time to take over the world. Sorry, just teasing. Anyway, so we're looking at this as a template. So remember, what I'm presenting you next is just a template on how we can actually move ahead and do full portfolio management.
Can I ask a clarification question?
Sure.
Is the steering committee approval of the revision to the supplemental guidance the final decision, or does OMB have to approve it? And corollary is, then is the revised supplemental guidance now available and open to the public?
I don't know if I can effectively answer that. I think, Ivan, you want to hold that until we come back on questions?
Yeah, I can do that.
If we're going to have a panel and open discussion, please hold that one. I think that's a great one because I can't answer that one completely. Remember, I'm a needs-oriented field person, so I'm still learning this too. Anyways, in respect to the next step and actually the template that we're working on, this has been quite interesting. And of course, I do have to point back to Tom Chatfield over at BLM. It's too bad he's not here to take the credit and I guess abuse when I get to give him abuse. But basically what we did was we sat down and we looked at what it takes to put together a data set. Remember, this is a template for all the other things that we can do, such as roles and responsibility, management of these data sets, etc. This is just the essence of the data itself. So data lifecycle management, we have 7 different stages. Each one of those ties back into your business requirements, so you can crosswalk and harmonize that with all of the folks that you're working with. We actually have numerous different types of questionnaires associated with this. They cover the stewardship elements. They cover the issues associated with the federal types of requirements that we're under and we need to actually mandate. So it's got metadata in there. Each one of these 7 steps has probably 18 different entries into it as to what you need to do to follow through. And what I was telling the data set managers, because as I started encountering the data set managers and we wanted to take them through the questionnaire to see how well they were doing, what we did is we sat down and some of these data set managers said, well, what's this going to do to me? Why do I have to go through this? So I spent a lot of time convincing people like on the NHD and the WBD. Karen, thank you for being a guinea pig. Karen went first, but we actually sat down with DFIRB, Sergo. We did the parcels data set. We interviewed each one of the data set managers and went through basically a 2-hour interview questionnaire that identified all of the elements inside of each one of these data life cycles. And then from that, we started looking at how we can work together with management metrics to show how well they're doing. And not surprisingly, a lot of them are doing very well. There were some aha moments where some people in the archiving element may have missed the archiving element that they should be doing, but guess what they're doing now? They're doing archiving. So it's been really a great way to get this information out and actually go through and look at it. Well, what are we going to do with this information once we get it? Right now we have about 10 of them. I think we have 4 that are in the wings. The documents have been put together and out, they're made available as well, so we can actually learn from this information. So what we did is we sat down and the group got together and said, okay, what are we going to do to actually identify benchmarks that are effective to us, to tell us how well are we doing? Now we could go through and call out all sorts of benchmarks inside of this document, but what we did is we were looking at benchmarks associated with each one of the stages. So now we can actually do a measurement and metrics ranking associated with how well these folks